Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 396, Mayberry Days 2016 report. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Hey, it's the month of October here as we're recording this, so head over to Weavers and check out the new thing. We have an old man Rimshaw print. That's right, you can buy one of your very own and watch his eyes follow you around your house. Old man Rimshaw print. Go check that out at Weavers. Also, pick up a Mayberry Deputy badge because only deputies go to the Rimshaw house. Thanks for all your support there. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners exactly like you. The executive producer of episode number 396 is Keith Brown. Yay, Colonel Harvey. Keith Brown, thank you so much for your support. And I want to thank all our patrons at patreon.com for supporting the show as well. Folks, thank you for joining me. I'm Alan Newsome, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting. And tonight, whenever you're actually listening to this, we're going to be going through some of the events of Mayberry Days. But before I go into that, there's something I wanted to tell you guys about. It's going to be a long episode, I'm afraid. But I had to get this in because it is so awesome. Here's some paper. I got a great package in the mail the other day. Let me tell you about this. This is from Leroy McNeese. You remember Leroy? He's one of the country boys. He was in Mayberry on Record, and he was also in a Quiet Sam episode. He was in that. He's going on the cruises with us. We've done episodes about him here on the podcast. I got these. Now, these were drawn by Leroy's own hands. Now, I'm going to describe them to you. But this first one is Aunt B. Now, it's Aunt B, like on the Delightful Desserts cookbook, if you have that, where she's eating. And Leroy drew this. And the second picture that he sent to me, that's actually a print sent by him, is of Floyd. And he signed them both. Awesome. So here's what he said. He said, Alan, here are some prints of Aunt B and Floyd. I just thought you might like them. We missed being with you all this year at Mayberry Days and hope we can make it next time. Thanks for all you do for Mayberry, Leroy. Oh, man, Leroy, thank you so much for these. Of course, I'm partial to the Floyd one, but the Aunt B one is good as well. I love them both, and that was a treat to get in the mail this past week, and I cannot thank Leroy enough. I've got to send him a note and thank him, but I wanted to tell you guys about it right here on the podcast. So, because it's Mayberry Days related, because he wasn't able to come this year, and his wife Jan, I want to thank them both for thinking of me. This was that is awesome. Woo! So thank you. There's a great picture of Floyd. It's but Leroy drew them both. He drew them. I don't know if you remember, but James Best was an artist, and he drew or painted, not drew. He painted. So now I have James Best paintings. I have two of them actually, and now I have Leroy McNeese artwork right here in my hand. It's awesome that he signed. Thank you so much. All right, folks, well, we're going to talk about Mayberry Days. Now, Mayberry Days is held every year the last full weekend of September each year in the town of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Now, most of you guys already know that, and there's Mayberry Days reports from previous years. So you can go back and look through the podcast episode list and find reports from Mayberry Days 2015 on back. Probably ever since I've been doing the podcast, if I had to guess. So we just wanted to run through some of the fun things that happened during Mayberry Days, because it is always, such a, man, if you have never been to Mayberry Days, you have got to try to make a trip there because it is just amazing. So we're going to play a little bit of music by the VW Boys, who were at Mayberry Days, by the way. Thank them for letting me use this music. And we're going to get started. Now, the weekend for me started off, I got there on Wednesday in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And then I headed over the next morning over to the golf tournament because that's when it starts. The golf tournament, the Mayberry Days, the Emmett golf tournament starts on Thursday of Mayberry Days week. And as I was heading over there, I saw Howard Sprague. Now, Howard was not dressed like you usually see him. He was not dressed in his coat and tie. He was dressed up like a fisherman. He had been out there fishing and splashing in the water, and nobody could catch any fish because of Howard. But it was great. And then we headed over to the golf course. A bunch of the golfers. We got the Creechsters. That's a chapter of the Andy Griffith Show Rodeo and Archers Club, and they always dress up as something for the golf tournament. And this time they dressed up like old-timey golfers, and they looked great. Got pictures made with them, got to see them play a lot then, and saw a whole bunch of golfers. That night, on that Thursday night after the golf, we have the Mayberry Days, the Emmett Golf Tournament Awards Banquet, and it's all held there at the Cross Creek Country Club. And we're able to go in, and we have usually Barney and Floyd and Howard and maybe Otis and some of the other tribute artists are there to give out the awards to all the golfers who played in the golf tournament. And one of the awards you get is the Deputy Fife Award. That's he's hunting down things. I forgot what it's actually called, but it's him looking for I guess a ball to hit. I don't know. Barney's not too good at it. So we were giving out all the trophies. It was a great time at the Emmett. The winning team just happened to be related to Emmett Forest, so it was very fitting. So it was a great evening. And then followed by that, we end up with all the folks there at the banquet. And I guess there's probably close to, I don't know, 250, 300 people at this. And they get a chance to visit with the cast members who are present. And so that's always a lot of fun because we had Betty Lynn was there, Thelma Lou. We had Margaret Carey. Margaret was there. She was Bess Muggins. You know, she played too. Helen Scobie, Bess Muggins. And believe it or not, Margaret brought her son Eric with her. So he was there. Now, Eric and George Lindsay Jr. have a show that they put on together that called the George and Eric, the one-man show. I don't know if you realize there's two people there. But anyway, Ronnie Shell, he was there. Ronnie Shell is awesome, and we'll talk about him some more later. Rodney Dillard of the Darling Boys, he was the guitar player, if you don't know, Rodney Dillard. He was there speaking with us. Laura Hagen was there. That's the widow of Earl Hagen, the man who wrote the theme song for the Andy Griffith Show. She was there and spoke to the crowd. And Dorothy Best, that's James Best's wife, widow, and she was there speaking and talking about James. Then we had Maggie Peterson was there. That's Charlene Darlin, if you don't know. And Don Knott's daughter, Karen, she was there speaking with everybody. And she even got a picture from our friend Bo Pierce. He gave her a picture of Don playing golf. He thought that would fit really good at the golf outing, so he gave it to her. And Ronnie Dapo was there. Now, Ronnie was Arnold, the spoiled kid, who just happened to appear in the Halloween episode. Now, you guys remember the Halloween episode that we just talked about with Old Man Rimshaw that Weaver has a picture of, that you can head over to Weaver's department store and pick one out. But he was not only the spoiled kid, but he was also the boy in that episode as well, who, when they hit the ball, it went into the Rimshaw place and they had to go get it. So Ronnie was there. He was there last year, and he said last year he was unable to stay more than just a little while because he had other commitments. But this year he was there for the whole event because he enjoyed himself so much last year. And the evening was topped off with Elvis singing, and it was great. Then the next morning we started up with the proclamation. This is the mayor's proclamation on Friday morning. Now, this year it was earlier than normal, so I hope you made it out to it. And all the cast members were there. It made it in. Rodney, Maggie, Laura Hagen, she was at this. They were all there. And we had two new tribute artists that showed up this year. The Fun Girls. That's right. The Fun Girls were there. Skippy and Daphne. And they were leaving lipstick on everybody's cheek. Every man's cheek pretty much had lipstick on it throughout Mayberry Days because the Fun Girls were going around getting their picture made kissing men. They were very popular, by the way, with the men. Next up, Margaret Carey was there, as I said, all the cast members. It was a big crowd for the proclamation, and it was a fun event. Ronnie Dapo, Ronnie Shell. Then the mayor got up to actually read the proclamation, and everybody was solemn for the occasion. But I tell you what, the big event was for me at that event was Jeff Kuntz. He's a member of the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board chapter, and he runs the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board silent auction that they have every year at Mayberry Days to raise money for the Surry Arts Council. Jeff actually received the key to the city of Mount Airy for all his amazing volunteer work he has done. He runs their websites for the Surry Arts Council and so many things there, the Andy Griffith Museum and more. And Jeff volunteers for all those things. Well-deserved Key to the City and honoring of Jeff for all the amazing things he does. We had Rain Thomas. She was there to sing. And the Fun Girls, as I said, were there. They keep popping up in my pictures as I'm flipping through them to tell you about these things. Now, these pictures, I'm going to try to post them on our Facebook page, so be watching there for them. The show always ends with Elvis singing at the end of the proclamation. But this year had been Betty Lynn's 90th birthday. So as part of his performance this time, he actually sang Happy Birthday to Betty Lynn. That was a big thing. It was a lot of fun. And then the festivities began, and we started reading off everything. The next event that came up that day was Karen Knotts doing the show. It was a brand new show that she had done, and it was called A Deputy's Daughter, held over at the Earl Theater. Now, Karen, I didn't get to go to this because Floyd is kind of busy during Mayberry Days. And for those that don't know, I'm the Floyd the Barber tribute artist and go around having to pretend to be Floyd all the time. Not knocking that. Glad to do it. But because of that, I don't get to go see some of the shows. So my wife went, and she got to take pictures and see Karen on stage. And Karen talked about Don Knotts and his life and just all, what it was like growing up being the daughter of Don Knotts. Great show from all accounts, and my wife certainly enjoyed it. Then Ronnie Shell, he had a show that day as well, and he got up and spoke, and he was joined on stage at one point by Charlene herself. Maggie Peterson came up there, and they did a nice little routine about a cigar that was really funny and gambling. So don't gamble with Ronnie. Don't gamble with Ronnie. But it was a lot of fun. And then Greg Shell, Ronnie's son, was there, and he had actually videoed back in 2010 and made a video episode or video DVD called Mayberry Days, where he did a documentary on Mayberry Days, and they actually showed that documentary as part of Ronnie's show. It was a great documentary, a lot of fun there. Later that day, we had the kids trivia contest, and just so you know, one of the Fun Girls might have been somebody related to Andy Griffith, like his daughter Dixie. She was also one of the judges during the children's trivia. So there were kids who were competing to try to win the children's trivia. Did a great job. Then we did something different this year. So the Mayberry Days trivia was different. So there was what we've always had is just people asking questions. We ask questions and people try to get them right. Can't do it. So this year we did something different. This time, instead of just the winner being that first event, what we had actually done, Weaver's Department Store sponsored this, by the way. They went out and purchased a system to do kind of a Jeopardy type competition. So the way it worked is all past winners of the Mayberry Days trivia contest were automatically in the finals. Up to 10 people could be in the finals. And we also allowed the youth trivia champion to be part of the finals. So we had 3 qualifiers. So we had 15 questions, and whoever got the most questions correct would be qualified for the finals to be among those 10 people competing for the Mayberry Day Championship round. It ended up we had room for three folks to join the champions and the children's champions in there, and so they made it through. And then as part of that, we were able to make the questions a little bit easier, making them more fun for the fans. So turns out, though, as we did this, because we did 2 rounds, first round was worth 100 points, the second round was worth 200 points. If you missed a question, of course, you subtracted the appropriate value, whether it was 100 or 200 points, depending on which round it was. And then the final round was everybody had to bid based on whatever they had already earned and try to win the championship. Now, the fun thing was the winner of this year's contest was Jim Sherrill. He was also the qualifier in the qualification round. So he won the qualification round, getting 14 out of the 15 questions correct. And he won the overall trivia championship by winning the competition for the finals. It was a lot of fun, a different way of playing. and we'll probably continue to do it that way in the future. A lot of fun. Second place went to Pat Bullins, last year's champion, so it was a great time. And Jim Sherrill, he was the winner. Sarah Blaine, Miss Mayberry, presented the awards, the trophies, to the winners. It was a great time. And then right after that, there's a small group of us gathered that was from the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board chapter, the online chapter of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. We met and had a picture made and made sure everybody knew who each other was. And it wasn't just the chapter there. It was also people like you that listen to this podcast were definitely a part of this group. So we had this was obviously not everybody at Mayberry Days that listens to the podcast or is a member of the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board. But it was a fun time for those that came, and we got our picture made, and it'll be posted online as well. So that night we continued, Mayberry Days continued along. We had the VW Boys, had a Michael Hoover concert, and then the next morning was the Mayberry Days parade. It was a great parade, a lot of fun. Betty Lynn was in the parade with her in her car. And this year we had two Opies. We had Opie Eli Austin, who does Opie with us as we're doing different events lately. He's from down South Carolina. And then another Opie that's a local boy that's Donna Hyatt had in the parade. So they both rode in the same car together. We had two Opies. Boy, there were Mayberry squad cars. Colin Watkins, who listens to the podcast, and his dad, they were in the squad cart. It's a golf cart that looks like a squad car that Colin uses. Great thing there. And if you saw Colin, he had a great big lipstick on his face from those fun girls. I think he really enjoyed it. Again, there were squad cars, there were marching bands. I even saw Regis walking down the road with a sign that said, "Down with the gold standard, vote for the single tax." He was walking down the road. We had Jimmy the Loaded Goat, sponsored by the way, the Loaded Goat, a brand new restaurant there in Mount Airy. But yeah, he was riding in a little vehicle, the Jimmy the Loaded Goat. Ernest T was running around with his stop sign and stuff, trying to be the crossing guard. You saw Gomer and Goober and not Mr. McBeavy. Did we see Mr. McBeavy? I did see Mr. McBeavy. He was running around too. Colonel Harvey was there talking to people and trying to sell them some elixir. Howard Sprague was trying to get bicycle licenses on people. And we had some flower making machines riding down the street. Aunt B was in the parade. Barney, Mayberry deputy himself, David Browning, was riding around in his squad cart with a siren blaring and talking to people in the crowd. He had a great time. Gomer and Sergeant Carter were going down the street. Like I said, squad cars, cast members, Margaret Carey, Otis was there. The chapters from the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club were in the parade marching. I even had Henry Bennett. He was walking down the street carrying a little TV set. And he had a ticket in his hand that said 6 7/8. But he still won the TV set because that's the kind of friends he has in Mayberry. We had Lana Ford. She's a friend of Karen Knotts, who was there. Dorothy Best, of course, I said. Aunt B. There's another Aunt B. We had Alma Venable, and we got Aunt B's and just Floyd's. There, and the fun girls. Wow, folks, I just can't describe. If you have not been to Mayberry Days, you have got to make plans to go. It's amazing. Ronnie Shell was there. Of course, Ronnie Shell was Duke Slater on Gomer Pyle. And so they had him in a military vehicle that was really a neat thing to see. And, of course, Dennis Bill. Dennis Bill is a former champion in the Mayberry Days Trivia. We even had a barbershop quartet marching in the parade. And Halcyon Loretta Winslow, Rain Thomas, she was there dressed up as the prune queen, I guess is what she was. The pork queen was there as well, waving to people. That was Patty Browning, if you didn't know. Ronnie Dapo, as I said, he was in the parade. He was Arnold Winkler. Rodney Dillard. I mean, they're all in the parade, folks. You get to see them all. And what was really cool is Luke Jensen was evidently in the parade because he was leading a cow that had boots on its feet. That's exactly right. So Luke, it was Abel, Baker, and Charlie. is who they were, evidently. But it was a cow that actually had boots on its feet. It was pretty awesome. The Morrison sisters, they were there making their elixir. The Mayberry Union High School bus, which is a new addition from over at Wally Service Station, if you haven't seen it. And Andalana, Charlene's daughter, she was singing going down the parade route and singing to people. A great time. Right after the parade, if you were up at the Andy Griffith Playhouse, you were able to see the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board silent auction. Definitely something you want to see if you haven't ever seen it, because there are some amazing items there. Everything from just the baseball cards from the Andy Griffith Show to original things that are made by folks like Dewey Lamb. They make and contribute these to the Surry Arts Council to raise money. And over the course of this event, I believe they said they had raised well over $50,000 since they've been doing the silent auction. This year alone, it was almost $5,000. It was the most that was ever raised during an auction. So thank you to all who participated. It was great. Jeff Kuntz, again, does a great job making sure he gets all these donations together and just doing this for the Surry Arts Council. Well-deserved key to the city to Jeff Kuntz. It was a great time. All kinds of great stuff there. Neil Brower. Folks, we're not even finished with the day. How much time we got? Neil Brower, he did his Professor Brower's class. I'm skipping things, by the way. Much more than this happened. Tinkerbell, Margaret Carey had a Tinkerbell Meets Andy show that she did. There are so many things. Dorothy Best and David Browning did a show, a tribute to James Best. That was on Thursday. Folks, there's all kinds of things happening at Mayberry Days. Got to make plans to be there. Professor Brower put on his class this time. Now, it was supposed to feature Clint Howard, but Clint Howard got a movie role right before Mayberry Days. Now, Clint Howard was Leon, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich eating little cowboy. That's Ron Howard's brother, by the way. But he was supposed to be there and do the interviews, but they had done so much prep work that basically, even without Clint being able to be there, Neil was able to perform the event, without him. If that was followed immediately by the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club yearly annual meeting there at the Earl Theater. And chapter leaders got up and told what they had been doing throughout the year, and it was a lot of fun. Even yours truly, Floyd, I got up and told about what was going on. I talk about myself like I'm a third person, but because I'm dressed like Floyd then, so that's not me. That's a different person. But we got up and told everybody what was happening, and we had all kinds of folks. We had folks from all kinds of chapters getting up and giving reports. Now, as part of the event, there's always some awards given away. And the Mayberry Friendship Award is one of the awards that's given away that our friend Ken Junkin, Otis Campbell, he presents this award. Well, this year there were actually 2 Friendship Awards given away. So 2 people received the award. The first person was Keith Brown. Keith Brown is Colonel Harvey. And Keith also runs the iMayberryCommunity.com site. He runs it. I actually set it up and do the back end stuff, but he's the one that actually keeps the day-to-day operations going. Keith has been a big part of Mayberry and just keeping the spirit of Mayberry alive. So he got the Mayberry Friendship Award this year, and that's well-deserved. Keith, congratulations. And he said a few words at the Rio Watchers Club meeting. And then Otis is the one that always gives these awards out. But this time, since there were 2, he let me present one of them. And so the second Friendship Award that was given out this year went to Christy McClendon, who does Andalana. So if you've ever seen her, she's a spitting image of her ma. And she is a great, great help. One of the first female tribute artists we've ever had that really works really hard with us, and we really do appreciate all that Christy does. And she was kind of blown away, had very few words to say. She said if she could sing it, she would, but since she had to talk, she wouldn't. So she takes after her uncles, I guess, or brothers, whatever, the Darling Boys. So well-deserved for you as well, Christy. Congratulations. Then finally, we give away an award. This award is a big one that is given away yearly. It's called the Jim Schwanke Award. And the Jim Schwanke Award is presented to someone who distributes a true Mayberry spirit. that has done things throughout their life, I guess, that actually shows friendship, kindness, and the spirit of Mayberry to all those around them. Jim Schwanke was a friend. He was from the Houston, Texas chapter, the Mayberry Texans, and I only met him one time my whole life, and it was at Mayberry Days. And then for the next several years, he corresponded by mail. So he'd write letters to me, and I would write back. And it was a real pleasure corresponding with Jim Schwanke, and I talked to him on the phone several times, but I never met him again after that event. And Jim Schwanke was a true Mayberry spirit. And so when he passed away, the Rerun Watchers Club decided to start presenting the Jim Schwanke Memorial Award. And this year's award went to Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson is from up in Wisconsin, and he has a well-deserved reward. And we may talk about that again later, because I want to talk to, maybe I can get even to talk to Ken. So we'll try to have some way to do a little bit more about this. But well-deserved award, Ken. Congratulations for receiving the Jim Schwanke Award. Then we took a chapter leader's picture of all the chapter leaders that were present at the meeting. Then, folks, to wrap up the evening, we went to Mayberry Days. Colonel Tim's. Colonel Tim's, that's right. So to start off Colonel Tim's, we found some country music singers that were coming through the city, which really looked a whole lot like David Browning, the Mayberry deputy. But he was dressed up a whole lot more like Porter Wagner. Turns out he was Porter Wagner's cousin, Bellhop Traylor. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Bellhop Traylor was present at Mayberry Days and was able to woo the crowd along with his friend Dolly, who came out to sing with us to open Colonel Tim's. It was a great event, a lot of fun. They actually sounded really good, by the way, as they were singing. And so the night just kept going. Floyd wanted to be the one who introduced everybody to start the show, and so he figured out the best way to do that was to steal Barney's pants, where he couldn't come out on stage. Well, it kind of backfired, because turns out that Barney stole Otis's pants, and then anyway, it was a big melange. It was a melange. You got to be there. We had the barbershop quartet was there. Colonel Harvey was selling his elixir. Aunt B was playing the piano with Opie standing beside him. She's singing Toot Toot Tootsie Goodbye. Folks, Mayberry Days is a blast. Colonel Tim's is something you don't want to miss. Now, speaking of Aunt B, that is Alma Venable from over at the Mayberry Motor Inn. She won the You're the Cats Award. It's presented by by Ron and Terry Quincy from up in Canada. And they present this award to someone who's really shown a Mayberry attitude, Mayberry spirit throughout their life, and just doing things behind the scenes or in front to keep Mayberry Days going. And Alma was the recipient the third year of this award. The first one was to Tanya Jones, of the Surry Arts Council. The second award went to David Browning, the Mayberry deputy, and Alma, she won the third one. So this is a wonderful award. She's well deserved. Alma is a wonderful person. If you're ever in the Mount Airy, stay at the Mayberry Motor Inn if you can. It's just like being at home. But Alma, congratulations to you as well. She said it was one of the biggest nights of her life, and she just never thought anything like that could happen to her. But it is a great award, well deserved. Folks, as I said, there were performances by the cast members. They were there. They performed during Colonel Tim's. The tribute artists performed. We had Mr. Swamp was walking around on the stage, and folks, it's just so much fun. Now, I'll tell you what really stole the show that night, though. There was a great bit that they did that just came up where Sergeant Carter got Gomer in the Marine Corps. Let me not skip ahead. We also had the mayor. This was a great one too. Mayor, they did the introduction of Goober, and they introduced him to the mayor because the mayor had never met Goober. So they did all that. Judy, all those things. A great thing. I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan, just like you guys. And so I was standing off to the side of the stage laughing so hard it was hurting me. And I mean, they were doing such an amazing job. These guys, they come to Mayberry Days because they love it. They just love the characters. And folks, there's no money really involved in this, and they do it for the love of the Andy Griffith Show. So if you see one of these tribute artists, you go up and thank them, because they are amazing, and they spend their time on their vacation coming to entertain us all. So they is well deserved. Everything from Otis reading a letter from his mama on stage, that was hilarious. Like I said, Sergeant Carter, he lined them up. It was they did the scene that was when Sergeant Carter first, when Gomer was joining the Marine Corps, and Sergeant Carter is yelling at him and making him put a bucket on his head and sing "From the Halls of Montezuma." Oh my goodness! I was trying to video this from the side, and if you're a patron or you were here live last week, you actually saw that video from me filming it from the side of the stage. I actually got a stitch in my side trying to be quiet instead of laughing. It was an amazing, amazing scene to see. Any fan would have loved it. Folks, a great evening. Always ends up with Elvis singing, and all the tribute artists and the cast members that are still present coming out to just be a part of the show. I just cannot say enough about Mayberry Days. If you have any opportunity, make plans to be at next year's Mayberry Days. You never know. The show may be good. It may not be, because it's all put together right there on the spot. And we have a great time for Colonel Tim's. But go ahead and get your tickets as soon as you can for Mayberry Days 2017. Wow. Now, all right, so that's all I've got on that. But let me tell you, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that today, as I record this, it's October the 3rd, 2016, the 56th anniversary of the Andy Griffith Show. So happy birthday, Andy Griffith Show. We love you. Thank you for all the joy you've given us, the Andy Griffith Show. We have laughed. We have laughed till we cried, laughed till our side hurt, literally hurt. And it's all because of the Andy Griffith Show. Friends, we have been so blessed to be a part of this, and to just like doing this podcast and just being Floyd and going around to these events. Wow, what a blessing it is. And I just can't say enough. So well, I hope you'll spread that joy as you go out and plan to be at one of these Mayberry events. If you can't go to Mayberry Days, go to Mayberry Days in the Midwest, or Mayberry in the Midwest. But Mayberry Days is the Mecca. I got to tell you, there's nothing like it. It's completely different. 3 days of immersement in the Andy Griffith Show. A great event. Floyd, folks, don't forget to head over to weaversdepartmentstore.com and check out those items I told you about. I'd also love to hear from you. If you give me a call at 888-684-8415, love to hear back from you. I got a lot of voicemail that I haven't played yet. Some folks have said, hey, I called in and you haven't used it. I know. I still have it. Just wait. It'll be there. So, folks, thank you so much for calling me and leaving voicemails. I am getting them and getting your emails, too. So thank you. Thank you very much. I love to hear from you. It keeps me going. And I just want to ask that you get out there and spread the love, spread the news about all the stuff online about the Andy Griffith Show, iMayberry.com, the iMayberry community, this podcast, everything. Folks, until next time, we'll see you right here on Two Chairs No Waiting, your Mayberry podcast.